Okay, a few people might have watched my other videos about creating your own UDFs, user-defined functions, and using them to solve the circular reference problems. Now, other people might say, screw that. I don't want to get into it. This business of arrays, variants, output things, user-defined functions. Screw that crap. I just want to be able to do it, and I want to be able to do it effectively. And other people might say, okay, that little thing you had is for some tiny little model, but once I have a really big model, it's not going to work. And by the time, and I have to admit, I'm the same way. I'm just going to do a copy paste. Screw that. It's good enough. I'm pretty proud of the copy and paste stuff I do. Okay, so in this video, Hetty and I have been working on this for a long time. I'm going to show you how, and I hope Hetty isn't really pissed off at me because we're going to have a little webinar that really allows you to ask questions and really get into some details. And this is like hopefully kind of going through some of the stuff we might go through anyway, but she's got some better ideas on how to do it. Much more interesting. So we have this model, okay? And in this model, we have just in this model, the first thing is we have some circular references, and then not. We can solve this with a copy paste. So hopefully you put the debt size here. What happens if I just push this up? And I'm going to put 80% debt in. And it looks like I don't have my formulas switched on. I do. And is this debt? Shit. Okay, I set up this thing a little bit with a fixed debt exactly because of this. But let's say I change my interest rate and make my interest rate 3% for some reason. Then I have a problem, and we just have to run the copy and paste thing, and I don't know what happened just now. I have a problem with the closing balance of the debt, but maybe this answers it. I said, okay, when we let's not do sculpting here. Well, let's have an option to either make it sculpting or not. If I put false here, I'm going to, of course, give you this model. Then we sculpt our debt. And when we sculpt our debt, we have a difference here, and we have to run the copy and paste. That's all fine. But if we don't want to sculpt the debt, we can say, no, let's just put in I put in a PPMT function. So we put in, this could be, you could imagine you're trying a zillion different, trillion, okay, different debt repayment percentages, okay? And now I'm going to take this example and illustrate, well, there are all sorts of things we might do. In fact, it was kind of good that I had this little problem at first. And that is because I might want to run this with debt to capitals. I might want to size the debt based on the DSCR and the PV of the debt service. I might want to have different items in the term sheet on how I sculpt the debt. I want to put different costs in. I want to do all of that. And each time we do this, it would be a little painful. We'd have to start writing a bunch of lines in the program. And instead, I want to do that with this UDF now. Okay, so I'm going to open this thing, and I have to admit that I've been working with Hetty on this, and we've been trying so many different ways. But at the end, this UDF, and I'm going to start with a really simple case. So there are these reports. Now, in the last video, I said, okay. Now, this just took a heck of a long time compared to the other stuff, but that's okay. It takes, because we've got so much stuff in this UDF, it took almost as long as the copy paste to run, but it doesn't. I promise you it doesn't, because it's got it's got a whole bunch of different stuff in there. I'm putting one debt issue in, and what we're going to do is take this little thing here, which, just think of it as a sum function. Think of it as one little function, and this function needs to know the capex, and it needs to know some EBITDA, and it needs to know some information about some debt issues. Okay, and so far I haven't done this. Now, that little message box I showed you in the last thing, that's kind of like this. It shows you when it's running and how long it takes to run. And then I'm going to do one more thing. Since I can't use the generic macros or anything else, which nobody uses anyway, to format this stuff. And now here's what we have. We have this UDF, which reads those things in. It reads all that stuff in, and right now it's not that much stuff. We've got some capex, we've got some EBITDA, we've got interest rate on our debt, we've got a 4-period repayment on the debt, we've got one different debt issue. You can have two. I just kind of showed you. You could have two, and you can put a whole bunch of crap in there. Things about a whole bunch of stuff, different ways to make the DSRA, different development facts, different VAT, different PRG rates, different LC fees, and I don't care about any of that stuff right now. I just want you to know that you can get that. Now, the trick is, I kind of showed you last time, we have kind of an input C variable or an input S variable, and that's the same sort of thing. One's going to be an array variable, the other's not, and we read these we read the data into this is the variables that are assigned in the UDF program. Okay, kind of. Now, if I wanted to do that, do what? Well, let's say I want to run this with debt to capital, and then it's taking a second, and actually it takes a lot longer right now because I'm on this one. It took 5 seconds. It's never taken 5 seconds before when I don't have the record thing on, but I'm not going to get too flustered with that. I'm going to get a little flustered. And then it plops in a debt number. Now we're going to just plop this debt number in our other model. And it also gives me the IDC and the fees and the DSRA that cause the circular references. Okay, and we're just going to plop that into our other model. And then it allows me to use different sculpting, and what it allows me to do is put in the repayment percentages, and I can, and here's the thing that, we've worked hard a lot on to get multiple debt issues, different kind of sculpting. It might be the case that you have the idiot kind of sculpting, that's what I call it, where you just say, I'm just going to use the minimum DSCR I put in, and I'm just going to use that minimum DSCR until we finish paying off the debt, and I'm going to pay the debt off early. Maybe you say that's not a bad thing because I could refinance, but you've limited the dividends in the early periods. Okay, instead of that, you can say, no, I'm going to just extend the debt with my debt to capital. I name these things a flat DSCR, LLCR method, and then we get a flat one and it extends throughout, and we'll see the effect of the IRR, or we can put a curved DSCR in, and I don't know if you like this whole business, and then it ends up with the minimum DSCR, but you're allowing higher dividends at the beginning. It's kind of the inverse of that other thing. Or you can just size the debt with either a fixed number you input, which is really helpful in in arranging this, or you can size the debt with the cash flow. Now, when we do all of this, okay, when we do all of this, if you want to change them all and all that, we've been so careful to make this apply Kenny's wonderful philosophical things about modeling, making them flexible, accurate, not appropriate, accurate, AFA, structured, everything's very structured. And just to illustrate how this might work is down here, if you want to drill down and look at exactly how the funding works, and you know, it's kind of silly right now. I have it on automatic. Let me switch it to manual. So maybe that's a good lesson here. You know, when you start changing a bunch of stuff, put it on manual. We can see exactly how the sculpting works, exactly how you look at the debt issue by issue, and we can show you exactly how the DSRA is worked, so it's all very transparent how the debt size works. Okay, and if I press those ones, and now it's what it did is, oh, for the first one it did it, but it's all a mess. So now I'm going to put it back. Let's put it back to our automatic. This might take a second. I swear it doesn't take a long time when you don't have the thing open. So now we might have to format it, okay? And that's how it works. Now, think about this just as a sum function. Don't think about this as anything other than that, okay? And now, after I've done that, and you might think about how long it takes you to put together. This is taking way too long, but it's doing it for. Now, if you hate the formatting I did, of course you can go into the code. It's very easy to change the colors around, and I probably need to do that. But now it shows you exactly, okay, exactly how you computed the CFADS, whether you put the DSRA in it. It shows you exactly how you computed all this crap for the funding, the standby upfront fee, the whatever, the pre-COD cash flow, the LDs paid and received, if you're going to use upfront funding versus whatever pro rata funding. I don't have an EBL in here, and then if you have where are we? Oh, I didn't print out all that stuff. I have to make this longer. That's enough. But you can drill down and you can find all this stuff. Now, so before I do that, I'm gonna switch it back and not do this. Okay, now once we do this, then let's put it in that other model. So we have the other model open, and that model is called Financial Model 2. I'm gonna resave this as Financial Model 3 because I'm going to put the UDF into this sheet and show you within really a short amount of time. Now we have, I have worked on this and we've tried this with really big models and medium models and small models to make sure we can make this an easy process. So you can put all sorts of different sculpting here, see what happens to the equity IRR and all this in your model. And our philosophy, or at least my philosophy, is I'm not trying to take anything away from you. I'm not saying, oh God, you don't have to make a model anymore. Of course you have to work through all your things. Of course you have to understand exactly how things work before you just start blindly kind of making this into anything that's a black box. I want it to be the opposite of a black box. So what you do is you go up here and you click on this one that says copy the code. And I'm going to click it from the template to the financial model. Now, you have to make sure when you do this, you go to the developer and make sure there's a little thing that says trust signature thing on the bottom. It says trust the VBA, the user-defined functions. I'll show you that. And then you click on this red button, and what it does is it goes in, and I don't know why I have these where are these stupid range names from? Okay, and it puts that little UDF, and it puts it in here, and sometimes I get these names, and I hate this. And I think that's because I had it on automatic. I'm pressing shift control 3, and come on. And then it puts, now we've got the sum function in there with the kind of crap formatting for the stuff at the bottom, which I'm not going to worry about, but we've got the key page, which is the very first summary page. So you've got that in. That wasn't that bad, except for that damn name thing, which I need to fix. Okay, and then we put the inputs in. Now, when you put the inputs in, you go and ooh, okay, maybe that's what caused the problem. You put I'm not going to have a development period. We go and we just go one by one, and we go and get our flags. Okay, and hopefully you have this. Now you can see that I did something idiotic, which is I took it off of the manual, so we need to click it on manual. Okay, and then okay, and then put and so this has to be a 1 and a 0, by the way. It can't be a true and a false, you know. That's just because of the way when you read in a variable, you have to define it as either well, maybe I could have done it differently. I'll shut up. Okay, and then we have, let's get our CapEx. These are the CapEx with no crap in them, with no circular reference stuff at all. And that's really important. If you start putting in CapEx, whoops, or OpEx or EBITDA that have some circular references in, you're going to get some problems. So you got to make sure that that works. And then let's put in the EBITDA now, and I've got the final EBITDA down here. Let's copy that across, and I'm going to put no depreciation in, and then as far as the debt goes, let's leave the fixed debt out here. We can make our debt to capital come straight from the inputs. That's totally fine. And by the way, I put a little thing, and we can make our DSCR criteria, and I hope you would structure your inputs with the debt size, the debt funding, the debt repayment, the interest and the fees and all that. Okay, and then we have those, and then I'm going to make it only one debt issue. I'm going to keep it relatively simple, but I'm going to put this as the number of periods. When you do this, it doesn't really matter if you have a monthly, an annual model, or anything else. I'm going to put that in. And then we're going to put the interest rate in, and the interest rate has to be kind of a periodic rate, and that should come from, I would think most of the time you would have a interest calculation somewhere down here where you put some, we'll find it, where you put some periodic interest, whether it's monthly or use some kind of silly, not silly, 360-day stuff in here. And then if you want, we can put the upfront fee in as well. Let's get that from the input. Okay, and then let's put the commitment fee. Now, I probably made a mistake somewhere along the line. Commitment fee is kind of like the interest rate. You better put what the real periodic fee is, and you can say, I don't structure my models exactly like that. That's tough. You can still find this. You can still do this. And now you're finished. And now it should all work. And it probably won't, but I get to pause the video. So then once you've done this, before we turn the calculation on, in case you're saying, why did you turn the calculation on? Now let's just kind of cheat with some stuff. And let's go down and put in our number 1. Why don't we put the debt in? And we can put the debt in straight from the output. That's the kind of idea. And then you can put in, instead of this fixed, you can put in a little column for the UDF over here, and you can get the where were we? This was we have the IDC upfront commitment fee and DSRA. Oh no, I just pressed the calculate button. Okay, well that's good. It showed you how long it took, but and we've got all sorts of stuff going on. But so right up here, I've got the IDC. Then that's good. I've got the upfront fee. We just plop that in. And then we've got the commitment fee, and we plop that in. And maybe I should have paused the video. And then we put in the DSRA funding. Okay, and I don't know shift where things are coming, but now we leave all our regular old for those auditors. You better leave all that stuff in. Okay, and I'm not going to press Shift F9 quite yet. So we've got all of this stuff in, and then we make sure that we're using this kind of fixed input, and then you could do some fancy lookups stuff. But instead of that, I'm just going to go to the UDF output. Well, before that, now I better press. I can't press F9. I got to go because of this stupid thing with they put the shortcuts in this video thing. So now I got to. Well, let me do this. I'll turn the formulas on now. Okay. And now, okay, now we have, the good news is, and there are all sorts of checks in here. Oh no, and I've got to get the phone. I'm going to pause. Okay, so I'm back. It was just a scam phone call, but I kind of wanted to pause the video anyway. So here's our construction period. We do it just like Kenny says, and then we have our COD, and then we have our repayment period. And you might want to say, this is too low a repayment right at the very first thing. You might want to, okay, whatever, put a grace period in or something like that, or put a limit in. We've got this, we don't right now, but it's very easy to put in a limit, the repayment, to make sure the repayment is never, ever a negative number. And we're running this with a debt to capital of 70% and all of that. So now all we have to do is go back to our repayment, and you just get a kind of fixed repayment, overwrite this little PMT function we had, and we stick that right in there. Okay, now again, we could have done this lookup function somehow. I should have put the count, put a little counter then on, how do I press this F2 and Control Enter, and we've got our repayment percentage in, and now we've got hopefully a little bit of sculpting, and I hope that's all working okay. I'm having trouble with the graph. Let's try something else. Okay, and you can see I'm very nervous about all of this. I know, just let me pause 1 second. I had the CFADS defined as after the DSRA changes. Okay, that's one of the complications. This is now CFADS is just basically EBITDA. We don't even have any taxes in this. Okay, so now here's what you can do. We've got that all built. That's how long it took. And now let's just do a couple of little tiny things. Let's see. I think I put little, if I press, can I press Control in this thing and Control in this thing and then go down here? Well, let's just copy those to our first page, and now you can do a data table, a goal seek, anything you'd like, and we can change the method and put a DSCR in here instead of that. Okay, it took a second to run, and we can see, oh no, that wasn't good because we had a little bit of a lower whatever DS IRR, blah blah blah. And then I can say, no, let's see if we can negotiate with the banks. Let's put a little spinner box here. I'm not arguing for spinner boxes or anything like that. Don't worry about that. You know, but I am arguing for you to think a little differently about things. And let's put a little bit of a lower DSCR in here. You can see it takes a second to run, literally 1 second. That took 5 seconds. That didn't help much. So let's put our debt to capital in here. Okay, and then you can of course change the debt to capital percentage, and let's see what we can see what kind of things in. But now let's, instead of doing a flat DSCR, let's do this thing with a curved DSCR. Remember, what that does is it changes the DSCR over time. I'm staring at the equity IRR, and it didn't help much. Okay, it didn't help much. And maybe let's put in some lower CapEx. Now, oh no, you know, I don't know. Did I, when we did this, I'm not sure if oh, look at this. I didn't, every time I didn't put the link it to our UDF, okay? And you could run the copy paste and make sure that the difference, notice the difference is 0 when we use the UDF. Everything's working. This is no, it's not. I'll have to check that. The difference is this minus the UDF. Okay, but I'm not gonna. You go and make absolutely sure that that's working. It's because I changed the debt size and all that stuff, I hope. Okay, and now what am I doing? Let's change the capital cost. Let's make it 2,200. Okay, and then the idea is everything is, it's taking a second to run. It says it's running. Okay, I'm sorry about that taking, but it takes a little bit long with this curved DSCR. Okay, let's see what happens if we put the flat DSCR in. And maybe you don't like that little thing that pops up all the time. I just put it in because I wanted to kind of see how it works, and let's run it with cash flow instead. And you can imagine, I hope you can imagine, if you started putting all of these things in your model and changing it, it would be a real pain. I'm going to pause the video and make absolutely sure there's no issue going on with this whole copy and paste business. Just a second. Okay, I had a little bit of a problem. I had put the equity up front to be 100%. If we find this, let's make the equity up front to be 0%. In other words, it's running by pro rata. Okay, I gotta pause the video. I'm afraid to show you it. Okay, it actually worked. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. You have no idea how this, and what Eddie says is, this actually is a good kind of way to check your model. And in fact, what we can do really quickly then is, if somebody asks, well, what's the effect of using pro rata on the financing instead of the upfront equity? Where was that input? Up here. It should be in the funding part of it. So maybe I'll just grab that one from the UDF inputs, which is up here. And then, so now, okay. No. Idiot. This, no, oh no, okay. This number in the UDF, how could I do that so badly? This number comes from, it's like defining what's in a sum function, okay? Okay, and then every time you can see when it's running and when it's not. Okay, and then let's see what kind of a boost we can get in the IRR. Let's do a couple of things. Oh, one more thing. The DSRA, we can put, well, how many periods are we looking forward for this DSRA? Okay, so let's pretend, and hopefully it's programmed okay in the other one. So let's pretend we have, right now we have, where am I? We'll put no DSRA in, and then we can immediately, all the circular reference will resolve, and we can see what the effect, it's kind of like that for me would be what's the effect on the IRR if we have no DSRA in, and you can put a DSRA. Now, if you put it to the debt to capital, the effect of the taking out or putting in the DSRA would be a lot less. Okay, if you can start to do this, if you're interested in it, I'm putting this, there's a lot of work that went into this, and we never got, we're not like I was out in Silicon Valley with all those rich people, and I felt so poor and so miserable when everything was so, oh my God, everything was so expensive and fancy and house, oh, Jesus. This is not funded, but what we're very interested in doing, I'm just going to tell you right now, if you're really interested in it, I think you should kind of sign up for an intense either one-on-one class or get your company to pay. None of this business of you paying. And I'm not going to charge you a bunch. Don't worry, you know that. And that's one thing. Or if you've got a really big model, what we'll do, Eddie and I, will stick this into your model and make sure it works and go through the whole thing and then go through it with you and show you kind of the difficulties you might have in putting all the other excruciating little bits into your model for all that VAT and standby debt commitment fee and all that PRG, all of that stuff. And then if you really want to see, okay, how would it work if you have multiple issues and all that, that's what our idea is to give you. We'll give you this, and maybe you can even do it yourself. That would make me sad, but whatever. And that's enough of the video. And I'm stopping with this. Now I'm going to go back to some other subjects. Okay, that's enough of this.